They said it was the perfect wedding, the kind every girl dreams of. The perfect white dress, the warm summer air, the sea glittering in the distance, and the groom who couldn't stop smiling. But no one, not even her parents sitting in the front row, could have predicted that just minutes after she whispered, "I do," she'd be gone, not missing, not lost, just gone, like she was never there to begin with. Her name was Lena Harrow, 27, bright, graceful, and a little too private for her own good. She'd met Ethan Cole barely a year ago, a charming architect from Chicago who seemed like the answer to her quiet loneliness. Their story sounded like something out of a movie. They met on a train when hers broke down, shared a coffee at the station, and never really stopped talking after that. Everyone said it was fate, but fate sometimes is just a well-written lifer. The very beginning, something about Lena felt unfinished. She never spoke much about her childhood. She said she grew up moving from place to place, that her father worked for the government. But the more Ethan asked, the more her stories contradicted themselves. One time she said she'd lived in Portland until she was 15. Another time she said she'd moved there at 16. But Ethan didn't care. Love blinds the curious, and she had a way of making him feel like the world was only half real until she smiled. The wedding was small, held at an old coastal inn, the kind with cracked balconies and ivy creeping up the windows. Ethan wanted something modern, but Lena insisted on this place. "It feels safe," she said, staring at the horizon. Safe. That word would echo through every interview, every report, every sleepless night that followed that. Exactly 5:42 p.m. the ceremony began. Lena walked down the aisle with her mother, the veil drifting in the wind. Ethan couldn't look away. When she reached him, she took his hand. Her fingers were cold, trembling, though the sun was warm. "Are you okay?" he whispered. She smiled softly. "Almost." They exchanged vows. They kissed. Applause broke out. The photographer snapped photos as they walked together toward the reception garden. But within minutes, Lena excused herself. "Just need a breath," she said, her voice oddly calm. That was the last anyone saw of her. 5 minutes, 10:20. Her friends searched the garden, the lobby, the parking lot. Ethan thought she might be fixing her makeup, or maybe overwhelmed by nerves. But when he checked, her dressing room, the one with the cracked mirror and bouquet petals scattered on the floor, all that remained was her wedding ring. Still warm, panic-spread guests combed the grounds, calling her name. Someone phoned the police. The security cameras showed nothing, no footage of her leaving through any door or gate. It was as if she had vanished between one breath and the next. By nightfall, the celebration had turned into a search party. The next morning, detectives arrived. They questioned everyone, especially Ethan. Was she unhappy? Did she ever talk about leaving? Any history of mental illness? He answered everything he could, but deep down something else gnawed at him. He remembered her final words, almost what then came. The first strange discovery. The manager of the inn mentioned something about déjà vu. "You know," he said nervously, "we've hosted a wedding just like this before, same date 10 years ago. The bride back then, she disappeared too." The police brushed it off as coincidence, but Ethan couldn't. He stayed at the inn for days, refusing to leave. On the third night, he noticed something odd. Lena's bouquet, which had been placed on a windowsill in her dressing room, looked fresh again, as if someone had just replaced it. He asked the staff. No one had touched it. The next morning, he found an envelope slipped under his door. No handwriting, just a single pressed flower inside from her bouquet, and a note, "Stop looking. She's where she wanted to be." That's when he began to doubt everything. Who was Lena Harrow, really? Went to her apartment, or what he thought was hers. The landlord said the lease was under a different name, Elena Marsh, with identification that didn't match any public records. The photos inside the apartment were of her, but they looked old. 10 years old at least. Her hair was shorter, her eyes somehow heavier, like she was someone who had already lived through the ending of her story in the closet. He found an old suitcase. Inside, wrapped in lace, was a newspaper clipping dated June 17th, 2013, the same date as their wedding headline. Local bride vanishes moments after, ceremony police still searching for answers. The photo of the bride in the article made his heart freeze. She looked exactly like Lena. Not similar, not a distant relative. Exactly her. Same eyes, same smile, same scar above the eyebrow. But the name under the picture read Eleanor Marsh. Ethan couldn't breathe. He checked the year again, 2013. The same inn, the same day, the same dress. He brought the article to the police. They dismissed it as superstition or a cruel prank. But Ethan knew what he saw. He contacted the old detective who had worked the original case. The man's voice shook when he heard the name. "You shouldn't be calling me about her," he said. "That case never made sense. She disappeared in front of her maid of honor 1 second there, next second gone. The last photo we took of her had something strange in the background." He emailed the photo. When Ethan opened it, he felt the blood drain from his body. Behind the bride, reflected faintly in the mirror, was the same cracked window of the dressing room, and a man standing there, a man who looked just like him that night. Ethan returned to the inn alone. He stood in the same dressing room, heart pounding. The ring still lay on the counter, faintly gleaming under the moonlight. He touched the glass of the mirror cold, uneven, humming faintly, "Lena." He whispered, "Where are you?" And then for just a second, the reflection smiled, but not him. She stood behind him, or rather inside the reflection, still in her wedding dress, her veil floating as though underwater. "I told you I'd come." "Back," she said softly. He stumbled backward, gasping. "What is this? What are you?" Her voice was a whisper of regret. "I was never meant to stay. Every 10 years the vow repeats. Every 10 years someone finds me." Ethan's hands shook. "You're saying you were her?" She nodded. "And she was me, and before that another. We're all the same promise. The same mistake." The mirror rippled like water under moonlight. He saw faces, dozens of brides, all vanishing, all frozen mid-step, reaching out toward something unseen. "Break it," she said suddenly. "Break the reflection. It's the only way to end it." He raised a chair, hesitated. "Lena, what will happen to you?" She smiled faintly. "Maybe I'll finally get to finish saying, 'I do.'" The glass shattered silence. The reflection was gone. The next morning, the police found Ethan unconscious in the dressing room. The mirror destroyed blood on his hands, and a ring clutched tightly in his fist. They ruled it stress-induced. Hysteria. The case closed with no trace of Lena ever found. But here's the part that never made the report. A month later, a couple booked the same inn for their wedding. When the new bride stepped into the refurbished dressing room, she found a single photograph taped to the mirror. It showed a woman in a wedding dress, smiling softly, veil drifting, and on the back, in neat handwriting, were 3 words: "Till death ends."